Studies show 75% of adults experience nerves when speaking. And for about 10% of people, it's intense enough to trigger a full fight or flight reaction. My name is Ed. I went from having full-on glossophobia to becoming a paid keynote speaker and a communication coach. And in this video, I want to share some of the unconventional tactics that I tried that genuinely helped me to overcome my fears and find my confidence. Now, none of these things are a replacement for training, practice, facing your fears, but they are useful aids to help you along that journey. So without further ado, let's jump in. Meditation is proven to lower the stress hormone, cortisol, by up to 30%, and long-term to physically shrink the size of the amygdala, which is known as the brain's fear center. Now look, I'll be honest, I find it a hard habit to stick to, but even 10 minutes a day helped me to feel more calm, less in my own head, and more composed when I was speaking in public. Now, most of the studies show people over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, so it does take a bit of consistency to see the results. But it's probably one of the most powerful ways that we have as individuals of influencing our own nervous system. So cold showers, they trigger a very similar physical response to public speaking anxiety. Your heart races, your breathing becomes fast, it feels very uncomfortable. But exposing yourself to this in the shower builds something called stress tolerance. And that same tolerance translates back to when you are speaking in public. Now, cold showers also spike something called dopamine, which is why you feel amazing afterwards. And trials have shown that it reduces the perceived stress and anxiety, even for people with things like PTSD. Now, I used to do a run of cold showers, say a week before I was having to speak. Every day I'd do one. And whether it was purely psychological or physical or a bit of both, I definitely felt more confident by the time I was having to step on stage. Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. There's often some wisdom to these old sayings, and I think there definitely is with this one. Now, a lot of people, when they're about to speak and they feel nervous, they lose their appetite. But a lack of calories to burn forces your body to release more cortisol, which breaks down your own muscle tissue into fuel. Because just like a car, you cannot run on empty. So if you've ever skipped breakfast and then become a bit shaky afterwards, that is what is happening. And let's be honest, it's the last thing that you need on top of the nerves of public speaking. So a hearty meal with carbs, fats, proteins, a couple of hours beforehand will trigger your rest and digest response, which is the opposite of the fight and flight. This is going to keep your blood sugar levels stable, and it's going to keep your nerves much more at bay. There's a man struggling with low self-esteem and anxiety, and he visits a psychologist who tells him, "I want you to count all the chimneys that you see when you're walking around outside." A couple of weeks later, the man returns, and he feels way more confident. He feels more social. He's been meeting people eye to eye for the first time in a long time. Now, the moral of this story is posture. When you stand tall with your shoulders back, as if you're looking for chimneys, you don't just look more confident, it actually shapes your own self-perception, and it promotes better diaphragmatic breathing, which also keeps you more calm. But all this needs to become a habit. If you become the person who always sits up straight, always has your shoulders back, then you're more likely to maintain that positive posture, even during the high-stakes, stressful situation of giving a speech. All right, back to cortisol one more time. Your body releases a spike of cortisol first thing in the morning when you wake up, as a way to get you alert and ready for the day. But if you stay up late and then you wake up late, that spike of cortisol gets delayed until later in the day, which can mean that by 11 a.m., when you're about to give that team presentation, suddenly you start to feel way more anxious. So wake up early, get that sunlight, get your screens off before bed. All of these basics that we get told are going to help you long term to handle those high pressure moments with more composure. Now, a lot of people instinctively avoid coffee before a presentation because they don't want to be even more jittery. But what I would do is replace my coffee with a chamomile tea. Now, chamomile tea goes back many, many years, but recently it's been proven to promote something called GABA, a neurotransmitter which helps us to feel more calm. So even now, I'll often have a cup of chamomile tea, say 15 minutes before I'm about to speak. And, it's not groundbreaking. It's not going to completely change how you feel, but every little helps and it will keep you feeling hydrated. I just find that it calms me down that little bit more. So try a chamomile tea. I want you to say hello to as many people as you can on your way in. So chat with your colleagues before you present. If you're speaking at an audience, go and say hello to the organizers. Try to meet some of your audience beforehand and talk to them too. Nervous speakers often seclude themselves before speaking. They go and, go over their notes beforehand somewhere. But social interactions keep your focus outwards. And it means that when you do finally step on stage, you're not facing a room of complete strangers for the first time. So my last tip is to be the most social version of you before you start speaking. And I promise you, this will make a huge difference to how confident you feel when you are finally addressing the entire room. So I found all of these tactics to be really helpful, and I hope that they will aid your journey too. Let me know in the comments if you've got anything else that you have found very useful for overcoming the fear of public speaking. And if you want some help to do this and to transform into a confident speaker, then consider getting some professional training. And you can do that by booking a free 30-minute call in the description below, where I'll be on hand to have a chat with you one-to-one about your goals, about your challenges, and to see if there's a good fit with the training that I offer. Hit like if you found this valuable, and of course subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. But for now, I hope these tactics help. My name's Ed from Project Charisma. Here is to your public speaking success.